ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੰਡੇ ਥੈਂਕਸਗਿਵਿੰਗ ਡੇ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ BC ਦੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਹਨ October 19। ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ 16411 ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਈਵੇ ਤੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਰੀ ਦੀ ਲੈਂਡ ਪਈ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਜੌਨ ਰਸਟੈਡ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੋਈ ਵੱਡੀ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਹਾਂ 16411 ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਈਵੇ।
Also address the management of common disorders in children. The delay of access to pediatric subspecialties leading to delay in diagnosis and poor outcomes for our children. For instance, if a child is experiencing seizures, BC Children's is currently the only place where families can access a pediatric neurologist and a pediatric EEG. This reliance on a single facility creates significant hurdles for families, resulting in delays in diagnosis and treatment. When a child under 10 requires an MRI, sedation is often required. Again, BC Children's is the only facility with a pediatric anesthesiologist available. This bottleneck leads to extended wait times in critical imaging, which is essential for timely intervention. For children with congenital heart disease, the need of an echo, an ultrasound of the heart, also means traveling to BC Children's Hospital because we can't do it in Fraser Health, potentially delaying crucial reassessments for this child. Timely intervention is vital. Delayed diagnosis can lead to severe complications. We also face significant challenges in diagnosing autism and developmental delay. While Fraser Health provides various pediatric services, we lack a dedicated center like Sunny Hill for comprehensive assessments, resulting in wait times of Fraser Health children close to a year and an alarming rate of misdiagnosis in our community. The consequences of these delays are devastating for both the family and the child. These are just the diagnostic challenges. This is just to get to the diagnosis. We haven't even discussed the delay in the definitive treatment and management. We must also discuss the deficiencies in surgical intervention, the lack of dedicated facilities in pediatric orthopedics, cardiac, neurosurgery, ophthalmology, ENT, general surgery, and GI add the urgent need to expand resources in our region. As none of these services are currently available within Fraser Health, they're only at BC Children's Hospital. It is clear that the standard of care is not uniform across the province. Anyone with a sick child understands the difficulties in navigating the current healthcare system. The increased influx of patients highlights this critical need and reality that BC Children's Hospital cannot sustain being the sole provider of serious pediatric services of the province. The volumes are too high and the delays are too long. Another crucial reason for establishing a children's hospital in Fraser Health is the need of a dedicated pediatric trauma center. Currently, BC Children's is the only trauma center for children in the entire province. Transfers can cause delays that worsen children's outcomes and conditions, especially in emergencies when every minute counts. Establishing a local trauma center would ensure timely and effective treatment, ultimately improving outcomes in the injured children in our community. As we consider healthcare needs in British Columbia and for British Columbia and the youth in British Columbia, it is essential to compare our service to those of other provinces. Alberta, with a similar population, has 2 dedicated major hospitals. Quebec has 4 major pediatric standalone hospitals, and Ontario boasts over 10 dedicated pediatric facilities. These provinces have recognized the importance of specialized care for children and women, and we must do the same. In closing, today's announcement is truly significant. When if any government decides to make this a reality, I do not believe a single person south of Fraser will not back it. Committing to build a new facility at this site on Fraser Highway dedicated to the care of our sick and critically ill children will transform healthcare in our province for generations to come. This initiative is not just a logistical necessity, it is a moral imperative. Let's ensure that our children and mothers receive the exceptional care they deserve close to home. Politics aside, let's unite in support of this vital initiative for the health of well-being of our communities. Lastly, there has been some great investments in healthcare infrastructure in Surrey, some underway with the new 168-bed in Cancer Centre in Cloverdale, and the commitment for the new tower at Surrey Memorial. Yet the numbers still support this standalone facility, this standalone center of excellence for children and women. This truly highlights how far behind we are in achieving equity in healthcare. Thank you.
So there's no question with a project like this, it's going to be quite an expensive project. It's a significant investment by the province of British Columbia to be able to achieve this hospital, being able to put the pediatric care and women's services that are needed south of the Fraser. We're committed to doing this, but we want to make sure that we work with the health professionals to make sure that it's done right, that it's meeting the needs. So that costing will have to come at a later date as we build out just what it will be. And obviously it'll take some time to be able to design and build this out. But the objective is to start that work right away we have the honor of forming a government. When I heard the announcement come out, I was actually quite disturbed. Whether it's Sikh or Hindi, it does not matter in this province. You should be able to be safe in this province. You should be able to raise a family in this province regardless of your faith. The fact that there has been targeted harassment, alleged targeted harassment, and activities to the Sikh community, I find very, very disturbing. This province should stand unequivocally and to say that people should be able to live at peace and to live in this province without any harassment.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chapman, from what I have read from this, came out with a number of posts that, quite frankly, I find offensive. That are wrong. They don't reflect the values for myself personally, and they don't reflect the values for us as the Conservative Party. Mr. Chapman has since posted with regards to that and clarified some comments. He has also retained legal advice, and that being the case, it would be inappropriate for me to say more about Mr. Chapman. So one of the reasons for not releasing our full platform earlier in the campaign is we wanted to be able to make announcements every day. We'd be making 1, 2, 3 announcements every day in the terms of our platform, driving the good news about what the Conservative Party will deliver for the people in British Columbia. And so what you should see tomorrow is the release of the platform, as we have now got the bulk of the information out. So there's a few more little things that I think you'll find in the platform which might be of interest as well.
Mr. Rustad, it's a good announcement, and there's a lot of announcement made by NDP as well. So, going back to the previous question, how you are going to budgeting this, because British Columbia is heading to $7 billion deficit, and if we include the capital projects, it will be 18 billions, the biggest in British Columbia and the biggest in Canadian history. Any province have that. After costing your promises to the British Columbians, how you are going to balance the budget? Is it a cut of the services or increasing the taxes? How you will balance that?
So thank you for that question. And I think the current deficit projected by the NDP is around $9 billion. I suspect that'll be even larger by the time we get to March. And that'll be quite a mess. I suspect should we have that honor of forming government to take a look and see what the books actually say. So with regards to that, we made a commitment to work towards balancing the budget over 2 terms. We need to be able to do this over time. The way to be able to deal with this is we need to significantly increase revenues by getting our economy going. We've also made a commitment that there will be no new or no increased taxes in BC except done by referendum. People are taxed enough. That's why we're going to get rid of the carbon tax as well as the low carbon fuel emissions, saving the average family about $1,200 a year. It's why we're also doing the Rustad rebate, which will be able to write off $3,000 a month on your rent or your mortgage or from strata fees against taxes. We need to be able to give significant tax relief to people. So obviously the capital side and projects that are coming forward, a project like this, we're going to have to work into the capital budget as well as many more projects. Obviously there's a huge demand in terms of schools in Surrey as well as other infrastructure that we need to be doing around the province. We're going to be looking for significant efficiencies. The way this government has been doing projects, I find unacceptable. We have seen the cost structure of these projects increase by anywhere from 30 to 50%, sometimes even higher, and plus the delays by years. That is not the way to do capital projects in British Columbia. We've seen virtually nothing built by David Eby in this province that is being completed. We're going to make sure we get things done in this province.
Mr. Rustad, just as a follow-up, not to the same question, but your announcement, the SOGI, sexual orientation and gender identity will 1, 2, 3 will be cancelled. There will be a liaison officers in the schools will be again installed, and there will be a letter grades will be introduced. What are your take on this big education plans?
So I mean, these are big shifts that are needed in our education system. For far too long now, our education system has been focused on teaching kids what to think. And we need to be teaching kids how to think. So it's a big shift. We want to make sure that every student is protected in our schools. That's why we want to have a very solid anti-bullying program and support in place. But SOGI has become a barrier. It's become very much problematic, especially for many communities. I've heard this very loud and clear here in Surrey. So it will be removed. And we'll make sure that our education system is preparing our students for their future.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. And I think you're looking at BC Housing and some of the things that have been done under BC Housing. We revealed some of this at our last question and question period this spring, where there were 3 hotels in Prince George. The first was purchased for 3.2 million and sold for 10 million a few years later. The second was purchased for 2.1 million, sold for 4.5. And the third one was purchased for 700,000 and a year and a half later flipped to the government for 3.2 million. And then they had to shut it down, even while they were renting the entire facility. There are 2 individuals that were involved in there. We've seen more examples of this in other communities in the north as well as down in the lower mainland. And that's why we're calling for a forensic audit of BC Housing to get to the bottom of exactly how this happened and how these individuals knew about that these deals are going and why they paid such an exorbitant amount for these kind of facilities in communities right across the province. So in our education system, we need to make sure that all material that's being available in our schools is neutral. It shouldn't be biased towards whether it is any particular ideology or environmentalism or politics. It should be able to be neutral. The goal of our education system should be teaching kids how to think and how to think critically. And so we just want to make sure that all the material that is in our education system has sort of any sort of bias removed. And I'll give you an example. There's a book that's used in grade 4 math that's called Math That Matters. It's a book that some teachers use, and it is very much biased and about environmentalism. The math is correct in it, but the language used is there designed to promote a certain agenda. We want to make sure that in our education system that our students are being taught the most critical things, how to think, and how to think critically, and make sure they're prepared for a future. And just to that extent, we have seen a decline. We used to be number 1 when it came to mathematics. We've seen a significant decline in that. We've also seen a decline in reading and arithmetic. University professors and colleges are saying that our children are not prepared for post-secondary. So that's why we want to make sure that our education system picks up those standards and that we make sure that it does the job of teaching kids how to think. So when I was the Minister of Provincial Relations and Reconciliation, we actually started the work of introducing curriculum changes to meet the recommendations that came from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We're committed to carrying on with that work and making sure that those recommendations are being looked after in our schools. But I also think our schools need to make sure they teach the full history of what has happened both here in Canada and the world. It's also one of the reasons why I want to make sure we see a very strong anti-Semitism program in our schools and teaching of the Holocaust. There's so many things that need to make sure that our children are taught about our own history and the history of the world.
Judy, welcome, and ਅੱਜ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਹ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਇੱਥੇ 16411 ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਈਵੇ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸੋ ਕੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟ
Sanjha. So today our announcement was having a BC, just like BC Children's, having a children's facility and maternity ward here on this side of the Fraser Health. Surrey has, and Fraser Health has been neglected, and it's very much needed. As you might have heard a lot of the stats, at least 6,000 bacha every year born hunda hai Surrey Memorial Hospital de vich, and so but the capacity is about 5,000, so we're over about 1,000 capacity on a yearly basis. If there's any MRIs chahiye, we have to send our children, transfer them out to BC BC Children's because we don't have the facility on this side. So the spot that we're standing on, we've had great discussion with the city to be able to use this land and build out, if we are given the opportunity to form government, to have a children's hospital here.
And that's much needed in Surrey, as you know. And people in a critical care or those kind of things have to go all the way to Vancouver.
Hanji. So this is crucial. It's not a an opportunity of like, oh, this is great. There's many. There was Alberta has 2. Toronto has 10 children's hospital and BC has 1, and we're a growing city. Surrey's a growing city. Langley, Abbotsford, we don't have any children's hospital. So anybody traveling, we have to travel out to Vancouver to be able to get our care for our children, be it an MRI, be it an echo, be it any kind of health services.
ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜਾ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਵੀ ਹੈਵ 5 days to go ਸੋ ਕੈਂਪੇਨ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਰਿਸਪੌਂਸ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ
ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ. My riding is Langley Willowbrook. It's hard work, but we're working hard for the last couple of days that are left and being hopeful and staying positive.
ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਡੋਰ ਨੌਕਿੰਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਲੋਕੀ ਕੀ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਆ
People want change. People are definitely ready to have some good government in place, people that are willing to listen. As you're door knocking ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ mostly ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੋਕ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ you're the first politician that's come to my door. You've got my vote because you know what, you're the only one that's come here and you're the only one that's listening. So and I haven't been a member there yet, but it's just listening to people, letting people know that you're there for them and listening here as well.
Thank you Jody and good luck.
Thank you.
ਅੱਜ ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਈਵੇ ਤੇ 164 ਸਟਰੀਟ ਤੇ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਲੀਡਰ ਜੌਨ ਰਸਟੈਡ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਲੈਂਡ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਵਰਬਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕਮਿਟਮੈਂਟ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੌਰਮੈਂਟ ਫਾਰਮ ਕੀਤੀ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਫੈਸਿਲਿਟੀ ਬਣਾਈ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ BC ਚਿਲਡਰਨ ਹਸਪੀਟਲ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੱਥੇ 5-6 ਹਜ਼ਾਰ ਬੱਚਾ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ ਜਨਮ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਆ ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹ ਬੜੀ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਐਡੀਸ਼ਨ to our healthcare system and this was the huge announcement ਤੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਪੁੱਛੇ ਸੀ ਸੋਜੀ 1 2 3 ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੈਂਸਲ ਕਰ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ letter grade may be reintroduced and liaison officers in the schools may be reinstalled. So ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਅਨਾਊਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਅੱਜ ਜੌਨ ਰਸਟਡ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ CJ ਸਿੱਧੂ reporting from Surrey, British Columbia.